Yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina. Representative Hudson, you're recognized for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrator Regan, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I appreciate you being here in person to discuss your agency's FY23 budget plan. As you know from our work together over the years, addressing drinking water contamination, especially Gen X, is extremely important to me and has been one of my priorities as a member of this subcommittee. On that note, I appreciate your agency's efforts to address PFAS, including the release of your agency's PFAS strategic roadmap last October, which included a human health toxicity assessment that we've been waiting a long time for, you and I both, for Gen X chemicals. You're well aware that North Carolina, specifically Cumberland County in my district and the folks downstream, has a disproportionate burden in our water basins when it comes to these emerging contaminants. Currently, many residents and even schools receiving drinking water from the Cape Fear River are paying out of pocket for filtration systems to remove Gen X contaminants. And since mid-February, more than 6,200 private wells in Cumberland, Robeson, and Sampson counties have been found to contain Gen X and other types of PFAS chemicals. To address this, many households are relying, as you know, on cases of bottled water for their water-related needs. And because of this, I and many in our community believe we can be a model for removal and remediation efforts. In 2020, EPA published several fact sheets on emerging technologies for PFAS destruction, as well as a journal article on the efficacy of destroying PFAS using supercritical water oxidation, or SCWO, in November of 2021. EPA's PFAS roadmap also includes a section on evaluating and developing technologies for reducing PFAS in the environment. Mr. Regan, what plans does EPA have to continue to evaluate, validate, and deploy technologies like SCWO? And can you please provide a timeline for these plans?
Well, Congressman, thank you, number one, for your continued partnership on this very tough issue. This is one that you and I have been working on for quite some time, and this is a top priority. I, on purpose, announced our PFAS roadmap from the state of North Carolina because I know the experience that North Carolinians have in combating with this. I'll say evaluating and developing technologies for reducing PFAS is a critical component of the roadmap. Much of the work that we've done, much of the scientific work that we've done, as you know, has been done from the campus there in North Carolina, EPA's Research Triangle Park campus. This past February, we released the PFAS Thermal Treatment Database. It's an online resource that contains more than 2,000 records from 80 different sources about the treatability of PFAS using different thermal processes. A lot of that information, that rich information, came from folks in the state of North Carolina. So I'll say that we are laser focused on the technological chase. We are leveraging the experience in places like North Carolina. We're also working on evaluating and drinking water treatment technologies to support our proposed water standards for both PFOA and PFAS later this year. So we're excited about the partnership, we're excited about the progress, but you and I both know that we need to do a lot more.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your commitment to this, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. And would love to have an opportunity to have you come down and do a site visit later this year, potentially. We've got a place where some of these technologies are being deployed, and I'd love for you to come see that firsthand.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Another issue I'd like to put on your radar: in April, traces of 1,4-dioxane were identified in Chatham County's water supply. You know, I'm concerned, obviously, about downstream impacts on my district where my constituents live. I know the EPA does not regulate 1,4-dioxane in drinking water. However, I'd appreciate any insight your team could give us on any EPA regulatory efforts on this substance.
You know, these unregulated emerging compounds cause a lot of us a lot of heartache, and I could say that we're going to use our authority under TSCA and the Safe Drinking Water Act to build a scientific foundation to better understand and respond to 1,4-dioxane. We plan to evaluate 1,4-dioxane under the Safe Drinking Water Act Regulatory Determinations Notice, which we're working on really hard right now. So yes, currently it's unregulated, it's an emerging contaminant, but I can tell you we're looking at all of our existing authorities and what we can do to regulate these emerging contaminants.
Well, I appreciate you doing that because folks are really concerned about it back in North Carolina, and so I look forward to continuing to work with you as you move forward in that process.
Absolutely. Your partnership is critical.
I appreciate that. My time's expired. I did want to get into a third topic, but I'll follow up with you in writing. And again, appreciate you making time to be with us today.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.